Welcome back to Moose on the Loose, your source of uncorrupt media. My name's David. Today, we're in the House of Commons, and it's very, very clear the Liberals have got a new game plan for trying to get some votes back, and it's pathetic. We'll just let this play out here. I'm going to show you a few clips back to back to back, because they all have the exact same talking points.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are asking for concrete action to make their grocery bills affordable. Jenny Byrne is associated with Loblaws.
While we've been fighting to give Canadians more choices in the grocery aisles and fair prices at the checkout counter, between Jenny Byrne's current affiliations with Loblaws and the deputy leader of the Conservative Party's past lobbying for Walmart, Conservatives aren't in it for you, they're in it for themselves and their corporate buddies.
Yeah, we're not buying it, man. This is just embarrassing at this point. I'll show you a few more clips and then we'll break this down.
As Canadians and Liberals are very much concerned about the price of groceries, a very serious issue. That's one of the reasons why we brought in the Competition Act. That's right. Let me talk to you about a lady by the name of Jenny Byrne. Jenny Byrne was the leadership campaign manager for the leader of the Conservative Party. She is also an active advisor to Loblaws. She's the one that's telling Loblaws, who's making billions of dollars in terms of what it is that they should be doing. Mr. Speaker, not to be outdone, the deputy leader of the Conservative Party, you can't make this up. She's the former advocate for Walmart, Mr. Speaker. Talk about conflict. How dare the Conservatives try to say that they're on the side of Canadians when it comes to grocery prices, Mr. Speaker? That's just not true.
Last week we learned that Jenny Byrne, a senior Conservative advisor, is currently listed as an active lobbyist for Loblaws.
Okay, so you've heard enough of the riffraff. First off, Mark Garrettson, this is the guy who called in that press conference and then the reporters grilled him like, why did you call us here? You're just complaining about the leader of the opposition. It was pretty funny. So these points about Jenny Byrne are incorrect. Of course, obviously the Liberals are lying once again. Just so it's clear, Jenny Byrne here, she has a company called Jenny Byrne and Associates. This company, you can see here, there's a quote saying the work Jenny Byrne and Associates does with Loblaws is limited to the provincial level and focused on expanded access to beer and wine and red tape reduction. It has nothing to do with groceries. Not only that, Jenny Byrne is not even the one doing it. There's a screenshot right here. There it is. 6 members that work for her company, and none of them are Jenny Byrne. You can see Loblaws. Where is it? Right here, Loblaws. There needs to be some sort of law. You can't just spew complete lies in the House of Commons. Like, if some knucklehead like me can look this up in 5 minutes, like, give me a break. What is this crap? Now, the reason we have lying scumbag losers like this guy saying this stuff is because an Ipsos poll came out saying 49% of Canadians stated that food prices are the #1 problem that they're dealing with. 49% was the highest amount out of all the different options. The Liberals dug down, tried to find some little morsel, some little scrap they could pull at and then spin a lie from it. They know they can sway more people back to their side if they spin the narrative that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are the reason grocery prices are so high. This is such hypocritical BS. Absolute lying in the House of Commons. I want to see a law that's put in place. If you lie in the House of Commons, you go to jail for 1 year. This is absolute stupid garbage. I just showed you 4 clips. There is quite literally, between French and English, there's probably 9 times they said this. You also notice in this House of Commons session that Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland both didn't show up for work, but Justin Trudeau was the first one to bring it up in the previous session. So obviously they had a big strategy meeting and Justin's like, I'm the kingpin here, so let me say it first and then all you crumb snatchers can say it afterwards. Like, that's basically what they've done here. Because the 2 of them aren't here today, all these crumb snatchers are just spewing. That's all any question, any concern that comes up, all they talk about is Jenny Byrne and Loblaws. This has got to be criminal at some point.
Mr. Speaker, last week we learned the Conservatives' top advisor, Jenny Byrne, is also a lobbyist for Loblaws. Mr. Speaker, we know these Conservatives love a slogan, so here's one for Canadians to remember. The leader of the opposition will raise grocery prices in your home, in my home. They're gonna bring higher prices home, Mr. Speaker.
Does this woman actually think that does anything but insult Canadians at home? Your stupid slogan? Like, look at this. This one's having a good laugh. He's having a good laugh. Like, put all these people in jail. Jeez. Second off, the slogan wasn't done right. It's your home, my home, our home, bring it home. It's 4 sentences. You did 3. It just sounds dumb, like doing it wrong. And the fact that she's making a slogan out of something that is causing so much suffering to Canadians where Pierre's slogan is a message of hope. You see the difference here? This woman is an idiot. She has absolutely no idea about anything that regards public image. That could be a nail in the coffin for her career. That's what a joke that is.
Mr. Speaker, it's rich coming from this opposition talking about food prices when we know that member's campaign chair, campaign manager, senior advisor,
there it is again,
the person that walks into their caucus every week and gives them advice is the chief lobbyist for Loblaws in this country. Canada's leading.
This is that other fool that was standing with, what's his name there, that did the press conference. These guys will forever go down as Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Food retailer. Mr. Speaker, instead of talking about axe the tax, maybe they should axe the hacks.
What does that even mean?
The honourable member from Foothills.
The desperation from the Liberals is incredible as they continue to avoid the real question. Canadian farmers should be applauded for their environmental accomplishments instead of being punished by the carbon taxes from this Liberals.
Yeah.
Why? To produce a ton of canola in Saskatchewan is 67% lower than the carbon footprint of European wheat. You can transport wheat, Canadian wheat, 3.5 times around the world before it has the same global footprint of wheat grown in Europe. But the Prime Minister wants to punish farmers instead of rewarding them for their environmental stewardship.
Oof, John's coming with the facts today. Those are some facts I haven't heard before. He's laying them in thick. What do you even say to that?
What is she advising all of these Conservatives about the cost of living and about grocery prices in Canada?
I promised was to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. The Prime Minister, with the support of the NDP, passed catch and release that allows career car thieves to be released the same day they are caught stealing cars, to have house arrest, and to have shorter sentences, many of which they serve in their living room watching Netflix. That has led to a 100% increase in car theft in Montreal and Ottawa, and a 300% increase in Toronto. Will they reverse these disastrous and reckless policies so that we can stop the crime?
Mr. Speaker, of course this government has a comprehensive plan on auto theft. It's interesting, though, the leader this week is pretending to care about food prices and about competition in the grocery sector. This week he's pretending to care about auto theft, Mr. Speaker, but we find out that his campaign manager, the woman to whom he owes the leadership of this party, is addressing he and his caucus and advising them on food prices. What is her advice, and what does he owe his campaign manager?
Yeah, the advice is to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost and not worth the crime. We now are paying $1 billion more in insurance premiums because he has led to a quadrupling of car thefts in Toronto. I have a common sense plan, which I rolled out today, to end house arrest and catch and release for career criminals and bring in 3 years of jail for 3 stolen cars. Will this government accept the common sense plan?
That only seems like common sense. Canada is so light on crime. Like, one of the problems out here on Vancouver Island, if you go up to San Joseph Bay, which is basically picture right at the edge of Vancouver Island, right on the coast, you're looking straight out to Japan. There's nothing out there. It takes hours to drive up. There's literally nothing except hiking trails. And people know this, and they show up at midnight, and they come out, they cut off people's catalytic converters, they break their windows, they steal all your stuff. People come back after a 5-day backpacking trip. Their car doesn't start. It's full of water. It's destroyed. And they're left in a dire situation where now they're a 10 or 15 whatever hour walk to the nearest town. It's a life and death situation. Yet there's no money to put up solar cameras, yet they can spend $835,000 on a guy flying around in a helicopter sniping deer. It quite literally in those situations, either someone who's coming to hike has to save you and drive you out, or you have to push the button on your InReach, your emergency device, to have a helicopter come and save you. At a certain point, we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing with these people? I think the whole system of jails is kind of ridiculous, that we pay for people to stay enclosed in this thing. Really, people who commit horrible crimes should be build stuff. They should be building roads. They should be building whatever. There shouldn't be Xbox and jail cells and them working out all day and just hanging out and being stuck in a building. That's ridiculous. Why not be tough on crime and put the criminals to work building infrastructure, building houses, building our country up? They have a debt to society to fulfill. That's what they should be doing, is fulfilling that, not playing Xbox in jail.
I'm very happy that the leader of the opposition
opposition, after reading a government press release, has finally tuned into this issue. But a couple of clarifications. Mandatory minimums for auto theft for repeat offenses already exist in the criminal code. So you're not changing something that already exists. Secondly, as an aggravating factor for an auto theft that occurs with organized crime, that's already on the books too. 718.2 of the criminal code, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. Why don't we focus on things we can actually do, like getting tough with organized crime and anti-money laundering?
This guy is such an arrogant prick. Like, he's so punchable. That guy is just vile.
Opposed to mandatory minimums for car auto theft. And furthermore, the minister claimed that he brought in bail reform that would stop auto theft, only that their bail reform doesn't apply to auto theft. So he's got to read his own law before trumpeting it in the parliament. Mr. Speaker, they've given us a 300% increase in auto theft in Toronto, a 300% increase in auto claims this year alone. That is their record. We have a common sense plan to stop the crime. Why won't they implement it today?
It's because they're probably in on it. That's why. Let's be honest. They're all criminals over there.
Because the Leader of the Opposition purports to be tough on crime. You know who I listen to about crime measures? Police officers. You know what they tell me, Mr. Speaker? They tell me that this isn't an individual crime. This is backed by people who are organized criminals. How do we deal with that? We get tough on money laundering. When he's asking me to read the law, I'd ask him to read C-69. That has measures that deal with money laundering that you're voting against.
Oh, that's ridiculous, man. So let me tell you a bit about money laundering. So as many of you know, I used to have a notary business with my ex-wife. She's Chinese, and thus I have lots of experience in that culture. I've been to China multiple times myself, and I can tell you how money has been laundered, and mostly for over the last 8 years in the Trudeau administration, is Chinese will take their money from mainland China over to Macau. Macau is a separate island off the coast of China, but it's like a part of China, but it has its own rules. It was colonized by the Spanish, I believe. If you go, there's a bunch of like Spanish architecture there, but now it's become the Vegas of China. See, gambling is not allowed in China. So they bring all their money there, and gambling is allowed in Macau. So they've recreated a whole bunch of the casinos you'll see in Las Vegas. And what they do is, say if you bring $1 million over and you buy a casino package, you'll get $1 million worth of chips, and then you'll get 2 weeks stay in a hotel there for free. Then they'll gamble their money and say they break even, right? They put $1 million in and they're really good at gambling and they get $1 million out. Then what they do is when they go to cash in their chips, they say, hey, I don't want that in RMB. I don't want that in Chinese money. I want that in CAD, in Canadian dollars, and I want that put into my HSBC account. HSBC is Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. Today it's just known as HSBC, which they do have a branch of in Port Coquitlam. That money just got moved out of China and into Canada, where China has a law, I believe you're only allowed to take out $10,000 per year, but they were able to move $1 million by moving it through that casino. Then they go and buy Vancouver real estate, which is why Vancouver real estate has spiked so much. This has been going on before Trudeau, but it has spiked up big time after Trudeau. And they did nothing about it. They sat on it for years. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 years that there's just unruly amounts of money laundering before they actually did anything on it. Eventually, they just put in that 2-year pause, which doesn't even apply to a lot. It's only for major metropolitan areas. The fact this guy just talk about money laundering, it's like Trudeau has been a big part of that and did nothing.
The NDP government continues to scam Canadians with their carbon tax. They said it would reduce emissions. It didn't. They said Canadians would get more in these phony rebates, and they don't. And they plan to increase this carbon tax scam in April, making the cost of everything go up. As 2 million Canadians visit a food bank in a single month, a third of which are children. After 8 years, this Prime Minister is not worth the cost.
Something to note too, the carbon tax goes up on April 1st. So does all of the ministers' salary increase, which is like around $8,000 each.
Speaker, I find it incredulous that the opposition is speaking about scams. When you think about the advice that they are giving Canadians to invest in volatile cryptocurrency, to fire...
The cryptocurrency thing was years ago, and you know what, Anita Nand, if you took that advice, you would have got at least 130% return. I bought crypto at that time and I made a good chunk of change and I sold it. So let's not like what a dumb thing to say. This woman is such a snake.
The governor of the Bank of Canada, one of Canada's foremost institutions, and to vote not once, not twice, but 120 times again.
Okay, we don't need to listen to that rhetoric. That's just a bunch of lies once again. We all know what happened there. Put in a big voting session to try to push them to take the carbon tax off, and they refused.
Conservatives are on the side of Canadians who are having to go into food banks more than ever before and making the cost of gas, groceries, and home heating more expensive because of their carbon tax scam.
Mr. Speaker, after the news this weekend about insiders, I find it rich coming from the opposition that they're going to criticize that point. But I will ask them in return, what is it that they would cut? Are they going to cut supports to Ukraine and the Canadian Armed Forces? Yes. Are they going to cut affordable housing, Mr. Speaker? Are they going to cut the Canada Child Benefit and $10 a day childcare? Let's hear it. What are they going to cut?
You can hear the garden gnome back here. It's like, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's what they'll cut. Oh, God. That guy always looks so crazy. Look at him.
I'm very proud to say the first thing we'll cut is the Liberal NDP carbon tax. To make life more affordable for Canadians. Because Canadians are paying more for food than they ever have before, with 2 million people relying on a food bank every month. The Prime Minister's solution, let's make food even more expensive. On April 1st, they plan to increase the carbon tax by 23%. Part of their plan to quadruple the carbon tax.
Mr. Speaker, it's rich coming from this opposition talking about food prices when we know that member's campaign chair, campaign manager, senior advisor, the person that walked...
Yeah, I'll spare you the riffraff. The same talking point over and over and over.
Conservatives introduced a common sense motion to cancel the planned carbon tax hike that will cost them even more on gas, groceries, and home heating.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we hear misleading rhetoric from the other side of the House. Folks in Canada know that 80% of Canadian families get more money back than they pay. It is an affordability measure as well as something that actually addresses the climate crisis.
It's affordability measure, everyone. Don't worry, we're all getting rich off the carbon tax.
It is something that helps the poorest of Canadians, and in fact, what he wants to do is take away the rebate. He wants to take away from poor and modest income people money that actually help to pay for groceries, that help to pay for rent, that help to pay for transportation. Shame on you for trying to target those folks and benefit only the wealthy in Canada.
That's so stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. When you have gas costing so much more, food costing... I'm going to do an episode here. I'm going to go to the grocery store and show how much everything is increased in cost. It's like your stupid little $300 check isn't helping anyone, man. It's so dumb. When you have a net increase of $8,000 a year, $300 is nothing. Like...
Mr. Speaker, that minister can manipulate the facts all day long, but that's not going to change the painful reality that Canadians across this country are experiencing.
If Conservatives are truly concerned about the price of groceries, why don't they just ask their top advisor to pick up the phone and talk to Loblaws? Or perhaps the next time she goes to pick up her paycheck, she could just ask Loblaws to join in our work to bring down lower grocery prices, to bring in more competition, and to get rid of predatory practices.
Warm, fuzzy video hiding daggers at my community in Alberta came out last week on social media. I have spent hours on the phone consoling people who are crying on the phone asking how we can stand up for the rights of 2S LGBTQ people in Alberta.
That's such a joke, man. Come on. Those laws are put in place to protect kids. What's wrong with this guy? I highly doubt he was on the phone for hours listening to people. This guy doesn't give a damn about people. I just realized he said 2S LGBTQ 2 plus whatever. Is that 2S for two-spirit? One of those made-up genders? Is that what that is?
This Prime Minister is not worth the cost and the crime. Auto theft is up 300% in Toronto and 100% in Ottawa and Montreal in the last 8 years of his catch and release policies. But his minister says, oh, don't worry. There's already a mandatory jail time provision in 3331A of the Criminal Code. Yes, it's only for 6 months. Today we propose a mandatory 3 years for 3 cars stolen. Will they support this common sense change, yes or no?
Thank the Leader Opposite for returning to the chamber and returning to this issue. It's an important one, and it's really important to understand the full complexity of the issue.
What a load of nothing he just said. He literally said nothing. This guy's just a blowhard.
This touches the auto industry, this touches our ports, this touches the criminal code, this touches the CBSA. What I would note for Canadians
or nothing.
That party's watch, when that member was actually a cabinet minister frontier agencies like the CBSA were actually cut. So in terms of providing the resources to keep Canadians safe, it's an interesting record that they've got. I wouldn't be too proud defending it.
That guy is such a loser. He's such a punchable face, that guy. More of his voice, you just want to slug him right in the face.
His main criticism is that when we were in government, we delivered safe streets at a low cost. Right. That's right, we spent less. There was less crime and less costs. That's a good thing. With them, you get more costs and more crime. So why won't they follow our common sense plan to bring down costs and crime by keeping repeat car theft criminals in jail now?
What we have on display again today is the hypocrisy of the leader of the opposition. This week, he pretends to care about auto theft. He just has empty slogans, and I'll give him some empty slogans. He comes in here shouting slogans like axe the tax. He needs to axe the hats.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I have right here an announcement from the king of lobbying, Hill and Knowlton, which brought on a special national leader of financial communications, who is that member right there. The kingpin lobbyist over there, trying to distract from the fact that crime is raging out of control. Today I announced a common sense plan to end catch and release and house arrest for repeat car theft criminals. Will they adopt this common sense plan to stop the crime?
The Honourable Government House Leader. Order.
This is outrageous. The Liberals are a bunch of like reanimated dead. They're a bunch of skeletons just sitting there, no life in them. The Conservatives like the exact opposite.
It's pretty clear that the Conservatives are off their game today. What happened here is that their campaign manager, the woman who has contributed, to whom the leader of the opposition owes his job, has been exposed as the lead lobbyist.
It's exposed as the lead lobbyist. I showed you guys the receipts. This guy's just blatant lying in the House of Commons.
For Loblaws, Canada's leading food retailer,
Fergus here is just like, little Steven now. He's like looking at him, talking to him like he's a little kid. Oh god, this is funny. I gotta say, if they're gonna keep lying in the House of Commons, there's gonna be a certain point here where the general population is just gonna stop paying taxes. I've already heard this comment. I've seen this comment a zillion times in different, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It's all over the place. People are seriously thinking about not paying taxes anymore. So it's time to start taking your job serious in the House of Commons, guys.
Mr. Speaker, this week, every MP in this House will have a chance to vote in solidarity with Ukraine by voting in favor of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. It's important to remember that the Ukrainian people are not just fighting for their own security, they're also fighting for our security, and we need to be fighting for them. Our government has been unequivocal in our support for Ukraine.
Evan Baker, he's got to be the most smug guy on the Liberals bench. He's got the most punchable, smug face ever. Where do they get all these clowns? They just go down all the different rat holes and they pull them. Oh, here's a fat one. Yeah, bring this rat out. Yeah, throw them in Parliament. Like, where do they find these people? That's where we're into this one. They ramble on some more. Just the same points over and over and over. What have we gotten from this? Well, the Liberals have their one talking point that they're pushing at now, trying to blame the food prices on Conservatives, which is hilarious. And that somehow we are blessed to get this beautiful $100, $300 carbon tax from the government. What a load of crap. Like, this government thinks we're stupid. But that's where we're going to end this one. Hope you guys stay warm, stay fed. I'll see you in the next one.